A, he's walking around like just because ESPN has padded his pockets with some millions, he's walking around like he's up, like he's an athlete, like he got that kind of cachet. And then, like I said, mentioning guys that obviously I think highly of, talking about Dion and Shannon and these guys I come across with, on a regular. You know what I mean? That's not cool to be name dropping. You know what I mean? Because now I'm around these guys and I'm like, okay, well, how do they really feel about me? You know what I mean? How do they think about me? You know what I mean? So that's where I am with it. You know what I mean? So as he said in this podcast, we don't ever have to speak again.
Okay.
Never, ever.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
Terrell Owens didn't drop a rant, didn't film a video, didn't hop on a podcast, none of that. All he needed was 5 words under Carmelo Anthony's Instagram post to spark one of the wildest celebrity sports beefs of the year. You're Shady 2 Ninja. No follow-up, no emoji, nothing. And instantly fans knew exactly who he meant. Stephen A. Smith.
I remember the one time where things almost this is the one time I almost lost it. When T.O. came on the air and said that Max seemed blacker than...
Because this wasn't some random late-night comment. This was a shot years in the making. A hit that went all the way back to one of the most shocking moments in ESPN history. A moment when Terrell Owens stared Stephen A. right in the eyes on First Take and dropped a line nobody in TV ever thought they'd hear. It almost seems like Max Kellerman is blacker than you. That sentence didn't just shake the room, it changed how people looked at Stephen A. It stuck to him like a scar. But to get why Toe is still firing shots today and why Stephen A. might quietly deserve some of it, you gotta rewind to the moment everything cracked between them. It wasn't just TV drama, it revealed Stephen A.'s biggest flaw. Hidden underneath all the yelling, the walk-offs, the dramatic rants, all the stuff his fans cheer for. There was a level of hypocrisy people had been side-eyeing for years, and that day, it finally blew open. And the craziest part? Stephen A. might have accidentally proven 2 right without even realizing it. Back in November 2019, First Take was already chaotic when Colin Kaepernick set up his own NFL workout after clashing with the league. Stephen A. was furious live on air. He said Kaepernick was acting like a martyr who didn't want to work. He said Kaepernick wanted to be right more than he wanted a job. Then Terrell Owens joined the show. And what started as a debate about football instantly turned into a heated conversation about something way deeper. Who gets to speak on identity and culture in sports media? Tew wasn't letting it slide. He told Stephen A., "You have a platform, but it's the way you go about it." He said Stephen A. was attacking Kaepernick instead of helping people understand him. And then he dropped the line that froze the entire studio. It almost seems like Max Kellerman is blacker than you. Stephen A.'s eyes snapped wide open. The room went silent. And he fired back instantly. "I'ma check you right now. You done crossed the line." And that was the moment the friendship officially died. To Stephen A., that was a personal attack on his identity. To Terrell Owens, it was a truth bomb he felt needed to be said. Because for T.O., it wasn't only about race, it was about loyalty, honesty, and how Stephen A. used his huge platform. Tew felt like Stephen A. had stopped standing up for athletes and started performing for the cameras. And a lot of people watching agreed. The moment exposed something bigger than a disagreement between 2 men.
For Colin Kaepernick, again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You done crossed the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You done crossed the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I don't want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me. Hold on, wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing.
Wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying that, but you said, you just sat up there and used an expression. More blacker. Excuse me, I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day.
I get it.
And so let's be very clear. And you damn well know that's the truth. And so my point to you is this. Again, I'm not going to disrespect you.
It showed the blurry line between being a commentator and being a performer. And that line only faded more as the years rolled on. And when they crossed paths again, the tension got even worse. After that blow-up on First Take, Stephen A. and Terrell Owens never talked again. but the energy between them never cooled down for a second. Stephen A. started taking slick shots on air, saying two still wanted attention, hinting things about his finances, stirring up talk he knew would get a reaction. And if there's one thing you do not say about Terrell Owens, it's anything about money. To fired back on the All the Smoke podcast saying, Stephen A. can say what he wants about me, but he's not real. He's corporate. He's performative. And that word, performative, started sticking to Stephen A. like glue. People began noticing something about Stephen A. in the 2020 S. He wasn't just debating, he was acting. The loud voice, the dramatic pauses, the exits from the set. It all started looking like a stage show. Even his longtime fans started questioning it. Was Stephen A. still being authentic, or was he turning himself into a character for ratings? The doubt kept growing. Then came the viral sit-down with Carmelo Anthony, the interview that threw gasoline on this whole feud. On Carmelo's show, 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, Stephen A. opened up in a way the public wasn't used to seeing. He talked about his issues with LeBron James. He revisited his complicated situation with Kyrie Irving. He spoke on the hate he gets online. And for a moment, he actually looked vulnerable. But when you paid attention, that moment didn't last long. Because halfway through the conversation, Stephen A. did exactly what Stephen A. always does. He turned the moment into a performance. He shifted into his dramatic rhythm, the same tone people accuse him of doing strictly for the camera. Stephen A. shifted from being emotional and reflective to dropping a perfectly packaged viral quote in seconds. He claimed Kyrie Irving was selfish during the COVID situation. He said LeBron was playing both sides when it came to the media. He even said brothers can't have real conversations anymore. It all sounded deep, like he was pulling back the curtain. But to people like Terrell Owens, it sounded staged. Because this is the same Stephen A. who spent months calling Kyrie irresponsible, reckless, and unpredictable. This is the same Stephen A. who said Kyrie was one of the most irresponsible superstars we've ever seen. And now he's suddenly saying maybe Kyrie was right. That doesn't look like growth to someone like T.O. That looks like rewriting the past. So when Carmelo's team posted the clip on Instagram, fans swarmed the comments calling out the contradictions and saying his story didn't line up. Then, buried deep in the replies, Terrell Owens dropped his message. You're shady to ninja. 5 words that hit harder than a whole interview. To T.O., it wasn't about that one clip. It was the pattern he's been watching for years. Stephen A. talks about being authentic, but switches sides every time the room changes.
Now, I addressed it on the air, but where it almost got dicey, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been involved with T.O. over the years. And it took everything in me not to go all in.
He says nothing is personal, but somehow it always gets personal. He says he stands with the community, but often becomes the loudest voice critiquing the same people he claims to protect. Owens felt like he'd seen enough, and he wasn't holding back anymore. But this beef isn't just two strong personalities clashing, it represents something way bigger, something that defines today's sports media landscape, the performer versus the prophet. Stephen A. isn't just a sports analyst. He's a brand, a full-on media machine powered by emotion, drama, and viral momentum. Every time he raises his voice, the internet jumps. Every shocked reaction becomes a meme. Every walk-off becomes a trending clip. That's not classic journalism anymore. That's pure content production, engineered for views and shares. And in a world built on clips, retweets, and quick reactions, authenticity often gets pushed aside for anything that grabs attention fast. Meanwhile, Terrell Owens, flawed, raw, outspoken, sees himself as the opposite. He's unfiltered, sometimes chaotic, but he's real. He doesn't hide his frustration, his mistakes, or his emotions. He doesn't script his reactions. And that's why this feud hits so deep with fans. It's not just athlete versus analyst, it's realness versus performance. TU represents the old-school athlete who paid the price for speaking freely. Stephen A. represents the new era where speaking freely as part of a business strategy and controversy sells more than clarity. And when those two worlds collide, it doesn't just get heated, it gets personal. To T.O., Stephen A. isn't just inconsistent. He represents a media structure that rewards the loudest reaction over the most honest one. But the real question is this: is Stephen A. actually the villain? Or is he simply playing a game everyone else already agreed to? Because the truth is, Stephen A. didn't create this environment, he just mastered it with precision. He understands the formula better than almost anyone. Outrage gets attention. Attention gets engagement. Engagement gets money. And money keeps you relevant. Nuance doesn't trend, volume does. So when he criticizes Kyrie one year and compliments him the next, he doesn't see it as hypocrisy. He sees it as staying ahead of the media cycle. When he questions LeBron one moment, then praises him as a mastermind the next, he doesn't think he's contradicting himself. He thinks he's staying in the conversation. Stephen A. Smith is both a product and a reflection of today's sports culture, where drama beats depth and attention outranks accuracy. But here's the twist. The same style that made him a superstar is now making people question him. And voices like Terrell Owens are forcing fans to wonder, is Stephen A. giving us what he truly believes, or just what he knows will go viral? And that brings everything to the real truth. The one hiding behind all the noise, the shouting, the walk-offs, the posts, and the viral moments. When you strip it all down, you start to notice something surprising about these two men. They're mirrors of each other. They both know how to command a room. They both know how to grab attention. They both understand how to stay in the spotlight even when the light gets harsh. Terrell Owens was once labeled one of the most polarizing figures in football, and Stephen A. Smith is the exact same in sports media. Different careers, same drive. That's what makes this feud so gripping. It's personal, but it's also a reflection. Because every time two calls Stephen A. shady, he's also calling out the part of himself that once lived for headlines and reactions. And every time Stephen A. fires back, he reacts with the same sensitivity he's spent years criticizing in athletes on his show. They're two sides of the same coin. Authenticity versus performance. Pride versus perception. Truth versus theater. And maybe that's why their clash never fully fades away. Because in a world where attention equals survival, both men are fighting the same enemy, being forgotten. In a culture where everything is about who can make the most noise, it's fair to wonder who's really winning this fight. So who's actually right here? Is Terrell Owens justified in calling Stephen A. shady, or is he projecting his own old frustrations onto someone who simply mastered the media game he once struggled with? Maybe the real answer lands somewhere in the middle. Stephen A. is a showman, absolutely. But he's also a product of the system that rewards exactly that style. And T.O. is real and unfiltered, no doubt. But he's also drawn to the same spotlight he claims to reject. Their feud isn't just personal. It's a battle about identity. It's about who gets to tell the story in a world where honesty and performance overlap so much that half the time, you can't separate one from the other. That's why the real question isn't who's right. It's this: what does it say about us that we keep showing up to watch them both? Because every time we repost their clips, every time we argue over their quotes, every time we refresh for the next viral moment, we're feeding the same system that creates these showdowns in the first place. We're part of the cycle, whether we admit it or not. So now it's your turn. Is Stephen A. Smith actually being hypocritical? Or is he just doing what the media world demands to stay at the top? Is Terrell Owens delivering real truth? Or is he chasing shadows from the past? Drop your take in the comments because I want to see where you stand. And if you want more breakdowns like this, real looks behind the drama and the headlines, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, because the next story might change the way you look at sports media forever.